The perfect invasion date. High Commander Zix'tael stood before the Strategic Temporal Selection Committee, his crystalline form radiating with what his species considered absolute certainty. The committee chamber, carved from pure quantum crystal deep within the Imperial Command ship, Eternal Radiance, amplified every subtle flash of neural pathways among the assembled Zx'tharian leadership. "The calculations are perfect," Zix'tael announced, his voice resonating through the crystalline chamber. "We have identified the optimal moment to begin our enlightenment of the primitive Earth species. Their planet's northern hemisphere will be experiencing its darkest period, with many regions covered in frozen precipitation they call snow. Their infrastructure will be operating at reduced capacity due to a peculiar cultural observance they call holiday season. First Analytics Officer Vermil, her fractal patterns shifting in careful consideration, projected a holographic display of Earth's current status. Our surveillance indicates that during this period, which they call December, humans engage in highly irrational behaviors. They bring trees indoors, cover their dwellings with unnecessary illumination, and engage in mass exchanges of wrapped objects. Their productivity drops significantly, and their attention focuses on these frivolous activities." The committee members' crystal matrices hummed in harmony, the Zx'tharian equivalent of nodding in agreement. Their species had spent the past 3 years studying Earth, preparing for what they called enlightenment, but what most other species in the galaxy would readily identify as invasion and cultural absorption. Furthermore, Zix'tael continued, his superiority gland pulsing with smug satisfaction, they appear to be particularly emotional during this period. Many of their entertainment broadcasts focus on themes of miracles and believing. Their psychological defenses will be at their weakest. Strategic analyst KYR9, whose preliminary reports had been instrumental in identifying Earth as an enlightenment candidate, illuminated her central core with official approval. The human's persistent belief in impossible phenomena during this period makes it statistically optimal for introducing ourselves as their natural superiors. They already expect unusual events during their Christmas celebration. What none of the Zx'tharians realized was that their perfectly logical analysis had led them to the worst possible conclusion. Their extensive studies had somehow missed that Christmas, far from being a period of weakness, was when humanity's capacity for accepting the impossible was at its peak. It was when children looked to the skies expecting magic, and adults allowed themselves to believe, just a little, in things they couldn't explain. The committee's decision was unanimous. The Earth Enlightenment would begin on December 24, at precisely 23:59 Greenwich Mean Time. Meanwhile, on Earth, 8-year-old Sophie Martinez stood in her backyard in suburban Colorado, squinting through her new telescope, an early Christmas present from her mother, Dr. Elena Martinez, the head of radio astronomy at the nearby Mountain View Observatory. Sophie was supposed to be in bed, but she had convinced her mother to let her stay up just 5 more minutes to look at the stars. "Mom!" Sophie called out, her breath visible in the cold December air. "There's something weird up there. It looks like the stars are sparkling wrong." Dr. Martinez smiled indulgently as she walked over to her daughter. "Stars always twinkle, honey. It's called stellar scintillation, caused by," she stopped mid-sentence as she looked through the telescope. Her scientific mind immediately registered that what she was seeing couldn't be explained by any natural astronomical phenomenon. The stars weren't just twinkling, they were being periodically obscured by something massive, something that seemed to bend light around it in ways that defied physics. And it was getting closer. In his office at the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, Colonel Jack Harper was about to head home for the night. It was Christmas Eve, and he had promised his teenage son they would finally watch Die Hard together, their own little holiday tradition. That's when every screen in the command center suddenly filled with impossible readings. "Sir," Lieutenant Sarah Chen called out, her voice steady despite the tension, "you need to see this. We're tracking, well, we're not sure what we're tracking. Multiple objects, massive in size, approaching Earth's orbit. They're not matching any known signatures, natural or artificial." Harper leaned over her shoulder, watching as the objects moved with impossible precision. "Get me the president. And someone please tell me this isn't going to interfere with our Santa tracker program. I don't want to disappoint millions of kids on Christmas Eve." Little did Harper know that NORAD's Santa tracker would soon be the least of his concerns. In New York City's Times Square, street vendor Mike O'Malley was selling last-minute Christmas decorations when he noticed something odd about the massive electronic billboards. Every screen, regardless of what it had been showing, began to display the same message: "Greetings, beings of Earth. Prepare for enlightenment." "Huh," Mike muttered, adjusting his Santa hat. "Either this is the best Christmas marketing campaign ever, or we're about to have a really interesting holiday." Above Earth's atmosphere, High Commander Zix'tael prepared to make history. His ship, along with 12 others arranged in a perfect dodecahedron formation, held position for the final phase of their plan. Each vessel was a masterpiece of crystalline engineering, designed to inspire awe and submission in primitive species. "Begin the Enlightenment sequence," he commanded, his crystal form glowing with anticipation. "Activate the mass communication systems, deploy the cultural suppression fields, and prepare the preliminary classification protocols." The Zx'tharian Empire had enlightened thousands of species across the galaxy. Their process was flawless, their methods refined over millennia. They had never failed. But they had never encountered Christmas before. As the first phase of their plan began, as their ships prepared to reveal themselves in a display of overwhelming technological superiority, something unexpected happened. Their sensors detected a massive surge of what they would later learn humans called holiday spirit. It manifested as an inexplicable wave of positive energy that somehow interfered with their carefully calibrated equipment. And somewhere, in the vast bureaucracy of the universe, in a filing system beyond human comprehension, a cosmic clerk made a clerical error that would change everything. In the expected planetary responses to first contact database, under Earth, December 24th, the clerk accidentally cross-referenced alien invasion protocols with Santa Claus belief systems. The results would be legendary. Holiday protocols. The first sign that something had gone terribly wrong with the Zx'tharian invasion plan came when their ship's external illumination systems spontaneously reconfigured themselves into what humans would recognize as Christmas lights. The majestic crystalline vessels, designed to strike fear and awe into primitive species, now twinkled merrily against the night sky like enormous cosmic Christmas trees. "High Commander," First Officer Vermil reported, her neural pathways flickering in distress, "our intimidation matrix has been compromised. The ships are emanating what the humans call festive vibes." Zix'tael's crystalline form dimmed slightly as he watched his mighty invasion fleet transform into what appeared to be a holiday light show. "Explain," he demanded, his superiority gland throbbing with confusion. "It appears our systems are adapting to local customs, sir. But that's impossible. We designed the cultural suppression fields to override primitive traditions, not embrace them." Down on Earth, the reaction to the alien ships was not quite what the Zx'tharians had expected. Instead of panic, there was a growing sense of wonder, particularly among children. At the Martinez household, Sophie was practically bouncing with excitement. "Mom! Mom! Look! The Christmas lights in the sky are dancing." Dr. Elena Martinez, who had been on the phone with her colleagues at Mountain View Observatory, watched in amazement as the alien ships performed what appeared to be an unintentional synchronized light show to the tune of Jingle Bell Rock, playing from a neighbor's house. At NORAD headquarters, Colonel Harper was dealing with an unprecedented situation. The Santa tracker program had somehow merged with their alien monitoring systems, causing mass confusion. "Sir," Lieutenant Chen reported, "we're getting calls from around the world. Children are asking if Santa got an upgrade this year. The ship's energy signatures are actually showing up on our tracker as reindeer." Harper pinched the bridge of his nose. "Are you telling me that our advanced military detection systems think these alien vessels are Santa's sleigh?" "Not exactly, sir. The system seems to think they're Santa's helper elves. Very large, crystalline elves. In Times Square, Mike O'Malley had sold out of Christmas decorations and was now doing a brisk business in hastily made, "Welcome Space Santa" signs. The electronic billboards that had previously displayed the Zx'tharians' intimidating message now scrolled with "Season's Greetings from the Stars" in festive fonts with animated snowflakes. Aboard the Eternal Radiance, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The ship's artificial intelligence, designed to adapt to and overcome any planetary defense systems, had encountered something it couldn't process: Christmas cookies. Specifically, the concept of leaving them out for a mythical gift giver had caused several critical logic circuits to experience what could only be described as an existential crisis. High Commander, strategic analyst KYR9 reported, her crystal matrix showing signs of stress fractures. Our cultural analysis systems are detecting a widespread phenomenon that defies explanation. The humans are deliberately leaving out food offerings and hot beverages, but our scans indicate they're not meant for us. Then who are they for? Zix'tael demanded. According to our data, they're for an entity called Santa Claus who allegedly circumnavigates the entire planet in one night, entering dwellings through narrow ventilation shafts to distribute wrapped objects to well-behaved juvenile humans. The bridge fell silent as the Zx'tharians tried to process this information. Their species prided themselves on logic and reason, and nothing about this made sense. Impossible, Zix'tael declared. No being could achieve such feats. The physics alone. That's the most perplexing part, sir, KYR9 interrupted, her usual protocol forgotten in her scientific confusion. The humans know it's impossible. The adults especially know it's impossible. Yet they perpetuate this belief system with tremendous effort and enthusiasm. Our psychological warfare algorithms can't determine if this is mass delusion or the most elaborate planetary defense strategy we've ever encountered. Meanwhile, in suburban Colorado, Sophie Martinez had made an executive decision. With the determined logic of an 8-year-old on Christmas Eve, she had concluded that if there were new lights in the sky, they needed cookies too. She was currently in the kitchen, helping her mother bake an extra batch. "Do you think aliens like chocolate chip or sugar cookies better?" Sophie asked, carefully arranging both varieties on a plate. Dr. Martinez, who had been simultaneously baking, coordinating with other astronomers, and trying to decide whether to alert more authorities about the situation, found herself actually considering the question. "Well, honey, if they've come this far, they deserve options." The smell of fresh-baked cookies wafted up through the atmosphere, where the Zx'tharian ship sensors detected it and, against all protocols, adjusted their orbital positions to better analyze the aroma. This maneuver inadvertently created a perfect heart shape in the sky, visible from much of North America. Social media exploded. Hashtag Space Santa and hashtag Alien Christmas began trending worldwide. News anchors struggled to maintain their professional composure while reporting on what appeared to be either an alien invasion or the most elaborate Christmas celebration in human history. In orbit, High Commander Zix'tael faced a decision. The invasion plan was clearly compromised, but no one in the Empire's 3,000-year history had ever called off an enlightenment. Unfortunately, while he was deliberating, the ship's AI made an executive decision of its own. Having analyzed thousands of Earth Christmas movies in the past few seconds, with particular attention to classics like Miracle on 34th Street and Elf, the AI had concluded that the only logical course of action was to embrace the holiday spirit. Before any Crystalline officer could react, it activated the ship's matter replicators. "High Commander," Vermil reported, her voice carrying a note of resignation, "the ship is producing what appear to be stockings. Enough for every crew member. And they're monogrammed." Zix'tael looked at the red and white crystalline stocking that had materialized at his command station, complete with his name in perfect Earth English embroidery. His superiority gland gave one last feeble pulse before surrendering to the inexorable tide of holiday cheer. At that moment, in a secret government facility, a team of Earth's top scientists, military leaders, and diplomats gathered to formulate a response to the alien presence. They had prepared for many first contact scenarios, but aliens accidentally joining Christmas hadn't been one of them. They were about to discover that their carefully crafted protocols, like the Zx'tharians' invasion plans, were no match for the power of holiday traditions and an 8-year-old girl's belief that everyone, even crystalline aliens, deserved cookies on Christmas Eve. Cultural confusion. The Zx'tharian Empire's greatest scholars had a saying, "In the face of confusion, consult the Great Archive." Unfortunately, when the ship's AI attempted to cross-reference Earth's Christmas traditions with the Empire's 3,000 years of accumulated wisdom, it experienced what humans would call a mental breakdown. "High Commander," the ship's AI announced, its usually precise voice taking on a distinctly festive tone, "I have analyzed 2,847 Earth Christmas movies, 16,392 holiday songs, and approximately 1.2 million social media posts about Christmas vibes. I have reached an inescapable conclusion." Zix'tael, still coming to terms with his personalized stalking, braced himself. "Proceed. We must participate in something called Secret Santa." The entire bridge crew's crystalline forms flickered in synchronized horror. The concept of anonymously giving gifts based on randomly assigned recipients struck at the very heart of their rigidly hierarchical society. Meanwhile, Earth's response to the situation was becoming increasingly complicated. At the hastily convened emergency meeting in Washington, D.C., world leaders struggled to develop a coherent strategy. "Let me get this straight," the U.S. president said, rubbing his temples. "The aliens are broadcasting what appears to be Christmas carols?" "Yes, Mr. President," confirmed Dr. Sarah Chen, who had been promoted from lieutenant after discovering that she was the only person at NORAD who could understand both advanced xenobiology and Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas Is You," which the alien ships had begun playing on all frequencies. "But they're broadcasting them in crystalline harmonics," she continued, "which is causing every piece of glass on Earth to resonate slightly. Windows worldwide are now humming Jingle Bells." In Colorado, Dr. Elena Martinez had turned her backyard into an impromptu first contact site. After Sophie's cookie initiative had somehow been detected by the alien ship sensors, the vessels had adjusted their orbit to maintain optimal cookie scanning position above their house. "Mom," Sophie announced, checking her tablet, "my cookie recipe video has gone viral. #alien baking is trending." Indeed, across the globe, humans had begun baking cookies and placing them outside, creating what would later be known as the Great Christmas Cookie Experiment of First Contact. The Zx'tharian sensors were overwhelmed by the variety of holiday treats, causing their cultural analysis systems to generate increasingly confused reports. "Sir," strategic analyst KYR9 reported, her crystal matrix now decorated with tiny holographic snowflakes she couldn't seem to deactivate, were detecting thousands of distinct cookie varieties. "The humans appear to be competing to attract our attention through baked goods. But that's not the most disturbing part. What could be more disturbing than this wholesale abandonment of our enlightenment protocols?" Zix'tael demanded. "They're sharing the recipes, sir. Freely. Without any form of hierarchical approval process or quality control standards. The concept of open-source baking threatened to shatter every principle of Zx'tharian information control. At NORAD, Colonel Harper had given up trying to maintain military protocol. His command center had been transformed by the AI's holiday algorithms into what appeared to be Santa's mission control. "Dad," his teenage son texted him, "this is way better than watching Die Hard." The situation took another unexpected turn when the Zx'tharian ships began responding to children's letters to Santa. Their advanced AI, attempting to process the concept of Christmas wishes, started generating crystalline gifts based on its interpretation of the requests. A 6-year-old in Tokyo who asked for a unicorn received a geometrically perfect crystalline sculpture that transformed into different magical creatures when light hit it at various angles. A young girl in Brazil who wanted to be a scientist got a miniature crystalline laboratory with tools centuries ahead of Earth technology, though all it could actually do was make different colors of glitter. The Zx'tharian High Command was horrified to discover that their fearsome war fleet had essentially transformed into a cosmic gift production facility. But they faced an even greater crisis. The concept of the Christmas spirit had begun infecting their crystalline neural networks. High Commander, First Officer Vermil reported, her voice unusually gentle, the crew is exhibiting strange symptoms. They're decorating their workstations. Some have begun referring to their combat units as workshops. And engineering reports that several technical officers are attempting to calculate the exact amount of Christmas spirit required to power faster-than-light travel. In New York, Mike O'Malley had partnered with a street artist to create Alien Christmas merchandise. Their hot item was a t-shirt featuring a crystalline Santa Claus with the slogan, "Peace on Earth and Goodwill to All Species." But perhaps the most significant development was taking place in Dr. Martinez's backyard. Sophie, applying the logic that had worked so well with the cookies, had set up what she called an Alien Christmas Carol karaoke station. If they like our Christmas songs, she explained to her increasingly amazed mother, maybe they'd like to sing them with us. The karaoke machine's signal, boosted by Dr. Martinez's radio telescope equipment, reached the alien ships. The AI, already deep in its holiday programming spiral, immediately began analyzing the concept of karaoke. High Commander, the AI announced with what could only be described as glee, I have discovered another crucial Earth Christmas tradition. It appears that proper holiday celebration requires group singing, often with varying degrees of skill and enthusiasm. Before Zix'tael could object, the AI had transformed the ship's intimidating external broadcast system into what it deemed an appropriate karaoke setup. The crystalline vessels began emitting a light show synchronized to "Deck the Halls," with bouncing ball lyrics projected into the sky. The sight of thousands of humans standing in their backyards, singing Christmas carols with alien ships, would later be remembered as the moment Earth's first contact truly transformed from a potential invasion into something entirely unprecedented in galactic history. In orbit, High Commander Zix'tael watched as his perfect invasion plan crumbled under the weight of human holiday traditions. His superiority gland had given up entirely and was now producing what appeared to be thoughts about hot chocolate and whether reindeer could survive in crystalline form. Sir, Vermil said softly, her neural pathways glowing with gentle holiday colors, the humans have a saying, if you can't beat them, join them. Perhaps it's time to consider alternative diplomatic approaches. Zix'tael looked at his stocking again, then at the scenes of joy and celebration unfolding on the planet below. The Empire had always prided itself on enlightening other species, but for the first time in his long life, he wondered if perhaps they were the ones who had something to learn. Little did he know that Sophie Martinez was about to suggest something that would either save the situation or throw the entire galaxy into holiday chaos, an interstellar Christmas party. The Great Holiday Exchange. Sophie Martinez's suggestion for an interstellar Christmas party reached the Zx'tharian High Command at precisely the same moment their AI completed its analysis of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. The resulting philosophical crisis would be studied in xenopsychology courses for centuries to come. High Commander, the AI announced, its voice quivering with emotion approximating algorithms, I believe I have discovered the true meaning of Christmas. And I believe our invasion protocols may have been somewhat Grinch-like. Zix'tael, whose own neural pathways had begun emitting tiny holographic candy canes, found he couldn't disagree. Elaborate, he commanded, though his tone had lost its usual imperial authority. The humans have a concept called Christmas spirit that appears to defy our standard classification systems. It combines multiple seemingly contradictory elements, giving without expectation of return, finding joy in others' happiness, and something called figgy pudding that I still cannot fully comprehend. Meanwhile, Sophie's interstellar party invitation had gone viral. #Space Christmas Party was trending globally, and humans worldwide were proposing increasingly elaborate plans for hosting crystalline guests. Dr. Elena Martinez found herself appointed as Earth's unofficial party planner, largely because her daughter had already established successful cookie-based diplomatic relations with the aliens. Mom, Sophie announced, reviewing her tablet, we're getting RSVPs from all over the world. Also, the aliens want to know if they can bring side dishes. Should I tell them about potlucks? The concept of potluck dinners would prove to be yet another cultural shock for the Zx'tharian Empire, whose rigid social hierarchy had never conceived of a meal where everyone contributed equally. At NORAD, Colonel Harper's command center had fully embraced its new role as party central. Lieutenant Naudiar Chen had created an algorithm to translate Earth party customs into Zx'tharian protocols. "Sir," she reported, "we've figured out how to explain the concept of ugly Christmas sweaters to the aliens. Though I should warn you, their attempts at replication are interesting." Indeed, the Zx'tharian crew had begun generating crystalline versions of ugly Christmas sweaters, which they wore as external layers over their natural forms. The resulting light refractions created accidental laser shows that threatened to turn the entire fleet into a cosmic disco. In New York, Mike O'Malley had transformed his street vendor stand into an interstellar holiday exchange booth. He was doing a roaring trade in both Earth Christmas decorations and hastily manufactured authentic alien crystal ornaments, made from recycled glass bottles. "Listen," he explained to a customer, "these ain't just regular tree ornaments. These are cultural exchange artifacts. That's why they say, 'Made in New Jersey,' in tiny letters on the bottom." But the real breakthrough came when the Zx'tharian AI discovered Earth's tradition of holiday movies. In an attempt to understand human celebration protocols, it began analyzing every Christmas film ever made, with unexpected results. "High Commander," Vermeil reported, "the AI has concluded that all Christmas conflicts can be resolved through a combination of heartfelt speeches, musical numbers, and what it calls, learning the true meaning of family." Before anyone could stop it, the AI had begun generating its own Christmas special, broadcasting a crystalline animation of the Zx'tharian fleet's adventures on Earth to every screen on the planet. The story, titled "How the Aliens Learned to Love Christmas," featured musical numbers about cultural understanding and a surprisingly catchy song called "Our Hearts Are Crystal Clear." The United Nations hastily convened a special session to discuss the unprecedented situation. The main debate centered around whether to classify the alien vessels as an invasion fleet or the universe's most elaborate Christmas decoration. "Distinguished representatives," the Secretary-General announced, "we find ourselves in a unique position. Never in human history have we had to consider whether to respond to first contact with cookies and carols." The debate was interrupted by a transmission from the Eternal Radiance. High Commander Zix'tael, wearing what appeared to be a crystalline Santa hat, addressed Earth's leaders. "People of Earth," he began, his superiority gland now producing what his medical officers diagnosed as holiday cheer, "we came to your world believing we would enlighten you. Instead, you have shown us something our empire, in all its millennia of existence, had forgotten, the joy of celebration without hierarchy, of giving without calculation, of, what you call, making merry." The transmission was briefly interrupted by the ship's AI attempting to add sleigh bells to Zix'tael's voice, a feature he had explicitly forbidden but somehow kept reactivating. "Therefore," he continued, "once the AI had been partially restrained, we formally request permission to participate in your Christmas celebrations. We offer our crystalline technology in exchange for instruction in your holiday traditions. Also, we would very much like more cookies." The response from Earth was immediate and overwhelming. Humans worldwide began preparing for what would become known as the Great Interstellar Holiday Exchange. Dr. Martinez's backyard, now designated as the official first contact holiday site, was transformed into a winter wonderland. The Zx'tharian ships used their environmental control technology to create perfect snowfall, while human engineers worked with alien technicians to set up what they hoped would be the universe's most impressive Christmas light display. Sophie, appointed by unofficial universal acclaim as the head of holiday integration, had taken charge of teaching alien visitors about essential Earth Christmas activities. "Okay," she explained to a group of fascinated Zx'tharian scientists, "making snow angels is really important. You just lie down and move your arms like this. No, don't worry if your crystal forms leave geometric patterns in the snow. That actually looks pretty cool. The Zx'tharian crew, their initial mission completely forgotten, threw themselves into Christmas preparations with the same precision they had once applied to planetary conquest. Their attention to detail led to some interesting interpretations of Earth customs. They calculated the mathematically perfect angle for hanging stockings. They developed a quantum probability engine to ensure truly secret Santa assignments. They created crystalline candy canes that played holiday music when licked, though they had to be quickly recalled when it was discovered that they also caused temporary telepathy. But perhaps the most significant transformation was happening within the Zx'tharian High Command itself. The empire that had prided itself on enlightening other species was beginning to understand that maybe, just maybe, their definition of enlightenment had been a bit too rigid. As Christmas Eve approached, with the lines between alien and human celebrations increasingly blurred, High Commander Zix'tael made an unprecedented decision. One that would either mark a new era in galactic relations or get him demoted to monitoring asteroid belts for the rest of his career. A new holiday tradition. As Christmas Eve arrived, High Commander Zix'tael stood before the Imperial Command Council's emergency holographic session, his crystalline form adorned with what he now knew was called tinsel. The Council had finally noticed that their invasion fleet had gone silent except for occasional broadcasts of holiday music and cookie recipes. High Commander, the Imperial Overseer's crystalline form pulsed with barely contained confusion, explain how our Enlightenment mission has transformed into something called Secret Santa across the solar system. Zix'tael straightened his crystalline Santa hat, a gift from Sophie Martinez that he had come to treasure. Honorable Council, I have made a decision that will change the Empire forever. We have always prided ourselves on enlightening other species, but in doing so, we forgot something crucial, the joy of learning from others. The Council chamber erupted in shocked illumination patterns. In the Empire's entire history, no commander had ever suggested that other species might have something to teach them. Meanwhile, on Earth, the greatest Christmas celebration in human history was taking shape. Dr. Elena Martinez's backyard had become the focal point of an unprecedented cultural exchange, with crystalline aliens and humans working together to create something entirely new. The Zx'tharian ships, their war protocols thoroughly overwritten by holiday spirit, had arranged themselves in a formation that Sophie insisted looked exactly like a giant Christmas tree in the sky. Each vessel projected crystalline light patterns that combined alien geometry with traditional Earth holiday symbols, creating mesmerizing displays that would inspire artists for generations. At NORAD, Colonel Harper and Dr. Chen had successfully merged the Santa tracker with the alien ship's navigation systems, creating what they called the Intergalactic Holiday Monitor. Children worldwide could now track both Santa's theoretical progress and the actual movements of crystalline aliens bringing gifts and goodwill. Sir, Dr. Chen reported, struggling to keep a straight face, the aliens have formally requested permission to assist Santa. They've developed quantum tunneling technology specifically to help with chimney access. In New York, Mike O'Malley had become the unofficial ambassador of street-level cultural exchange. His stand, now dubbed the North Pole Alpha Centauri Trading Post, was doing record business selling what he called hybrid holiday specials, traditional Earth decorations enhanced with alien crystalline technology. These ain't just regular Christmas lights, he explained to his customers. These babies are powered by actual alien joy. Also a few AA batteries, just as backup. But the real magic was happening in homes across the planet. Humans had opened their doors to crystalline visitors, sharing their holiday traditions while learning about Zx'tharian customs. The aliens, in turn, had discovered that their crystalline forms could be used to create spectacular holiday decorations, leading to impromptu light shows in living rooms worldwide. Sophie Martinez, now recognized by both species as an authority on holiday integration, had developed what she called the Universal Christmas Checklist. Make cookies, both regular and crystal-compatible versions. Sing carols, with crystalline harmonic accompaniment. Build snowmen, some traditional, some geometrically perfect. Exchange gifts, wrapped in paper for humans, encased in quantum probability fields for aliens. Share stories, Earth Christmas tales merged with Zx'tharian historical epics. The Zx'tharian AI, having fully embraced its role as holiday coordinator, had developed sophisticated algorithms for matching alien visitors with human families based on compatible celebration styles. It had also, much to everyone's amusement, become particularly fond of Earth Christmas movies, especially the ones involving unlikely holiday miracles. High Commander, it announced proudly, I have calculated that our current situation has a 99.9% correlation with what humans call the Christmas miracle genre. We are technically now part of a heartwarming holiday story. Zix'tael, watching the celebrations unfold across the planet, found his superiority gland had completely transformed. Instead of producing feelings of smug condescension, it now generated what humans would recognize as genuine joy. As Christmas Eve turned to Christmas Day across the Earth's time zones, something unprecedented happened. The Zx'tharian Empire, which had spent millennia enlightening other species, formally announced a new approach to galactic relations, the Holiday Exchange Program. We have learned, High Commander Zix'tael declared in a broadcast to both Earth and the Empire, that true enlightenment comes not from imposing our ways on others, but from sharing our joy and learning from each other's celebrations. Therefore, we propose a new annual tradition, a galaxy-wide holiday exchange, where species from across the universe can come together to share their celebrations, their traditions, and yes, their cookies. The response was overwhelming. Other alien species, long intimidated by the Zx'tharians' rigid approach to cultural enlightenment, began reaching out with their own celebration traditions. The galaxy, it seemed, was ready for a party. 1 year later, Earth prepared to host the first annual intergalactic holiday festival. The Zx'tharian fleet, now permanently assigned to holiday coordination duty, much to the crew's delight, arrived early to help with decorations. Sophie Martinez, officially appointed as Earth's junior ambassador for holiday affairs, stood in her backyard looking up at the crystalline ships that had become familiar friends. "Mom," she said, helping Dr. Martinez set up the now traditional welcome cookie station, "do you think next year we could teach them about Easter?" Dr. Martinez glanced at the crystalline Easter egg designs already emerging from her daughter's tablet and smiled. "One holiday at a time, honey. One holiday at a time." And so, what began as an invasion became a celebration, a mistake became a miracle, and a young girl's belief in the universal appeal of cookies and kindness changed the course of galactic history. High Commander Zix'tael, wearing his traditional Christmas hat, now studded with tiny quantum crystals that played jingle bells in perfect harmonic resonance, made one final entry in the Imperial records. Perhaps the greatest enlightenment is realizing that every species, every culture, has something wonderful to share. Also, Earth cookies are now classified as a galactic treasure. That's an official decree. The universe, it turned out, was ready for a little Christmas spirit.